Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, the World Alternative Media here, and everything the technocrats want is coming together right now as the Pentagon signs a deal with xAI, which is something I've been warning about for quite some time because I've been saying for, 15 or so years that the whole idea with social media would be the correlation between social media and government eventually creating a social credit system and a digital ID. Well, now the US Pentagon officially has entered into an agreement with xAI, building on the rapid deployment of cutting edge AI across the department's 3 million military and civilian personnel, says disclose.tv. And I have a lot to say about this because this goes back to everything I've been saying for a very long time. This is at the same time as X is working with Visa on XMoney, basically a currency that will be super centralized and be eventually forced on people if they use some of these platforms. And this is happening as they pass this legislation to make it mandatory to show 5 years of your social media history to enter the United States. And that is on top of many, many other things they want to enforce via this new legislation, which goes as far as biometrics and retina scans. And of course, this also includes 10 years of email history and of course, photo metadata to show immigration officials before you enter the country. I mean, this is absolutely crazy. This is under the guise of keeping America safe, and this is all about national security. That's how they'll present all this stuff. But this is, in reality, the Great Reset. This is the epitome of how you get the Great Reset. We're going to go into this and more today, and much more that's happening in other countries as well simultaneously, and how it all comes together. But before we do, I urge you to check those links below. Go and check out our link for Wavewatch 2.2. Pre-order today, 1,250 frequencies. When you use code WAM, W-A-M, you'll get over $100 off. No Wi-Fi is required. No Bluetooth or EMFs will, come out of this. Again, this is something that I really hope people go and check out because this helps you soothe your nerves. It helps you boost your energy, enhance the cellular function, and improve sleep with frequency, my friends. It's endorsed by people like Dr. Brian Ardis. I urge people to go and check out our link below for the Wavewatch 2.2. Again, 1,250 frequencies, code WAM, W-A-M. Also, make sure to check out our link for firstnationalbullion.com/schedule-consult/. It has to be that exact link. There you can avoid digital IDs and CBDCs and avoid the collapse of these banks that are bankrupt, and at the same time, avoid inflation by buying physical gold, silver, platinum, or palladium, holding it in your hands, putting it in a vault, putting it in an IRA outside of the traditional IRA system. Schedule an appointment there with Mark Gonzalez. You'll get a free consultation. And you'll also get a complimentary investors package. Just let him know in the comments of the form when you sign up that you found him at World Alternative Media, or WAM, W-A-M. Very important as far as solutions go going forward. Anyway, let's get into this. So Disclose.tv says U.S. Pentagon officially enters into agreement with xAI, building on the rapid deployment of cutting-edge AI across the department's 3 million military and civilian personnel. What it actually says here is the War Department to expand AI arsenal on genai.mil with xAI. So this is militarism, my friends. And by the way, this is also similar to what we saw with the correlation with AI and Saudi Arabia's militarism deal with the U.S. a few months ago when Trump met with Saudi crown princes alongside Larry Fink of BlackRock and Sam Altman of OpenAI, and of course Alex Karp and Peter Thiel of Palantir when they're creating this master database. It says genai.mil, recently launched as the War Department's bespoke AI platform, will soon be expanded with the addition of xAI for government's suite of frontier grade capabilities. Today, the War Department officially entered into an agreement with xAI, paving the way for the deployment of its advanced capabilities of genai.mil. This move builds on the rapid deployment of cutting-edge AI across the department's 3 million military and civilian personnel. This initiative will soon embed xAI's frontier AI systems based on the Grok family of models directly into genai.mil, targeted for initial deployment in early 2026. This integration will allow all military and civilian personnel to use xAI's capabilities at Impact Level 5, IL5, enabling the secure handling of controlled unclassified information, CUI, and daily workflows. Users will also gain access to real-time global insights from the X platform, providing War Department personnel with a decisive information advantage. Now, people throw the word of fascism around a lot, but this actually does come really close to it, which is government control over corporations, just as they buy intel and all this kind of stuff. There's something very strange happening. Same with the push for the merger between the Federal Reserve and the Treasury, which I recently did a video with Mark Gonzalez on, which you can find on our channel. But it continues here. The War Department will continue scaling an AI ecosystem built for speed, security, and decision superiority. Newly, IL5 certified capabilities will empower every aspect of the department's workforce, turning AI into a daily operational asset. The announcement marks another milestone in America's AI revolution and the War Department in driving that momentum forward. Now, first of all, empowering all of every aspect of the department's workforce. This includes what they signed with the Big Beautiful Bill, where AI now controls nuclear arms and nuclear capabilities. Again, another thing that was kind of signed on to between the United States and Saudi Arabia and Qatar recently. Now, on top of that, decision superiority is saying that AI will make better decisions than humans, which with Palantir drones massacring children in Gaza, making its own decision, and also deciding who can or cannot eat based on facial recognition, which I believe will be coming to a place near you soon. They're training it there, I believe. This is incredibly dangerous, in my opinion. As I wrote on X at World Alt Media, make sure to go follow us there, by the way. I know it's a part of the social credit system, which we'll go into soon, but all the same, they hide almost all of our posts on X, and it's helpful if anyone helps us reach new people by subscribing or following or sharing our posts there. But anyway, it says, as I've said for so long, they will use social media for social credit scores, and the Pentagon will have full access. Eventually determining where you can or cannot travel, they just put cameras with license plate readers and facial recognition all over the U.S. highways to stop so-called suspicious travel, what you can or cannot eat, and where you can or cannot live. This is a great reset. I've been warning about it for a long time before it was called this, when I called it the big reset in 2015, or before that for 9 years when I didn't quite have a name for it. It's the replacement of humanity with tyrannical convenience, quote unquote. Get used to showing 5 years of your social media history to the government before entering the country. I mean, this is what it all comes down to. It's all a part of this great reset, this technocratic system that takes over humanity, replaces humanity with machine. Elon Musk's X begins its push into financial services with Visa deal. This is how it ties into both the digital ID through X and the CBDC system with a digital currency tied to Visa. In which way is it anti-establishment to work with Visa, which debanks people and shuts people down for having opinions different than what they deem appropriate, as they work directly with the World Economic Forum, Visa and MasterCard both. Again, Elon Musk is one of the most obvious Trojan horses ever. He never really says anything intelligent in conversation. He just says things really slowly. We got to do good things. We need to have no censorship. It's such bullshit. Like when I listen to this, I'm going, how do people think this guy's intelligent? He's not doing any of the things he said. He was already caught faking playing video games online, being one of the best gamers online. How does he run all these companies at the same time? He doesn't. It doesn't take some genius. It doesn't. He doesn't do it. But of course, he's a guy who wants to put chips in your brain attached to a Pentagon-funded mesh network. And is openly saying AI will destroy humanity while he's the number one person developing it, allegedly, saying that it'll destroy most jobs, but don't worry, because you could have UBI, Universal Basic Income, which is essentially exactly what the World Economic Forum says. Yuval Noah Harari said his dream is, and he's a right-hand man of Klaus Schwab, he says his dream is a world where people are placated on drugs playing video games. That's UBI. That's exactly what you are getting with this technocratic system. And of course, Elon Musk says, oh, I'm taking over X, though he was sued and forced to buy X. He fought against it, allegedly, because it's part of the establishment plan. It's not like you can't just come in and just overthrow the establishment. They're creating a fake right and a fake left. The fake left was pushed by the climate agenda and the trends and the SJW stuff. The fake right is pushed by like, hey, we need biometrics and mass surveillance on everyone to stop people from wrong think. And, it's all just so blatantly clear. And they both claim they're anti-war, but they both love war. And again, the script was written long ago. These people are just figures that stand in place that claim to be actually fighting the so-called New World Order. It's complete bullshit. Again, Elon Musk says he's just finishing the job that his grandfather started. His grandfather was Joshua Haldeman. Joshua Haldeman was, of course, the guy who had created the Technate Party in Canada to create a global technocracy. He was kicked out of Canada. And of course, Elon Musk is also pushing this hive mind with Starlink. Eventually, you'll need an ID to sign on to it under national security purposes. He wants a carbon tax. He wants carbon credits. He openly says all this kind of stuff. He puts the injections big time and now pretends like, oh, I've always been speaking out against it. Yeah, when it didn't matter anymore years after. It's just, I don't know how people look at this guy as like a way to solve the problems of the establishment. He's literally the Trojan horse bringing it in. And now with this deal between XMoney and Visa, and then the Pentagon and X AI, this integrates digital currency into the framework of the social credit system that's being developed, all the while having to show it to enter the country. That's digital ID, my friends. With biometrics, with this 5-year plan, you need to show 5 years of your social media history, 10 years of your internet, or I mean your email and your IPs and everything. Also, photo data that shows where the photos are taken and every single bit of data that is tied to your photos, metadata. And you have to show iris scans and retina scans, and you have to show fingerprints, and you have to show biometrics and facial recognition. I mean, it's so insane. And that's all happening as they're rolling out, putting cameras on every highway in the United States and all over cities with facial recognition and license plate readers to ensure that you can be tracked everywhere. And if your driving seems weird and you're not just going to work and the store and home every day, it's deemed suspicious potentially, and you could be arrested, which also falls under the NDAA, which Obama brought to the next level years ago, which allows warrantless arrests of anyone that's considered suspicious or says anti-government things. And that ties into the United Nations Pact for the Future, which 193 countries signed on to in September of 2024, which says that anyone that criticizes the government can have their bank accounts shut down, or criticizes the narrative can have their bank account shut down as well, can be forced into food rations based on your social credit score attached to a digital ID, alongside carbon credits. All this stuff is happening at the same time, and people don't find that a little bit suspicious. So xAI, working with the Pentagon, as they're committing to all these wars, and as they say themselves, under emergency orders, they can force insane policies on you. If everyone's in the digital infrastructure using digital money attached to the Pentagon, and they declare an emergency, where are you going to escape to? And are you just going to trust that they know what's best for you? Because I promise you they don't. I mean, where do people think this is going? I think it's obvious to most of you watching, but it just keeps getting crazier because all these things tie together so perfectly, and people want to pretend it's raining when they're getting pissed on. Like, we're being laughed at, we're being mocked. Like, they're going so far and beyond. Things like this, I called out Obama for, but he never went as far as this. What happened to bring down the establishment? I always spoke out against Obama, but now we have Trump doing things that are like making Obama not look as bad. And before you say, well, he drone bombed all these people, you're right. He's a horrible, horrible person. But Trump in his previous administration banned the tallying of drone bombs dropped partway into his administration when it was looking like he was going to beat Obama out at most drone bombs dropped. So again, and he's clearly compromised. He's pushing in the chair for Netanyahu and getting the golden pager from Netanyahu while committing to annex and do whatever Netanyahu says in Gaza, while also, these Epstein files. What a joke that's been. And it's a hoax unless it's against the other side. If you make politics out of children being trafficked, then you don't care about the children being trafficked. But now we have this, 5-year social media history to enter the U.S. situation. This is mass surveillance. And we have an age verification lobby pushing for age verification checks for VPN use so that you cannot get outside of this internet ID system so that you're tracked and traced everywhere all the time. Meanwhile, speaking of that, Missouri's age verification law has taken effect. Missouri, of course, is pushing forward their own digital ID, as I reported on recently. I did a video you could find on Rumble and BitChute at World Alternative Media let's see, when did I post this? Trump's dystopian new rule, I believe. That's from 11 days ago. And oh yeah, and USA mandates digital ID. That's the one I went into. What's happening in Missouri. So these are digital ID mandates already happening in the U.S. They're pushing this in Texas. They're pushing this in, I think, 8 states right now, 7 or 8. I can't remember the exact number, but went into it in my previous video. But this means, oh, well, it's to stop children from watching pornography, which is great. You should not want that happening, except for it's only great in theory because at the end of the day, everyone has to then be tracked and traced online and your age identification. It's all a Trojan horse. Eventually, that will lead to all other sites. And then tied into the social media system, which has always been meant as a way to collect your information voluntarily. You bug yourself, you wire or you tap yourself, and you end up giving the government all your information. And, I have a book here called Trilaterals Over Washington, volumes 1 and 2 by Patrick Wood and Anthony C. Sutton. And we've had Patrick Wood on the show a few times. A really great book. I mean, this goes into back in the 70s, the Rockefellers and Zbigniew Brzezinski created the Trilateral Commission after a couple years after Henry Kissinger met with Mao Zedong and created an alliance to monopolize China in favor of trade. They propped up China as a guinea pig state for technocracy. The whole idea was to utilize China as a guinea pig state for technocracy to see how it works in the United States and elsewhere. And in the new world order, the new global order. On top of that, what did we see? Sesame Credit, what we call social credit, around 2009, 2010. When I remember talking about it then, everyone said it was BS and it wasn't real. And then it became apparent that it was. But obviously, it was clear that they were doing this. They were using it again to see how it would work in other places. Facial recognition on the streets. Hello, that's what they're doing now with these new policies, which also apply to on the left side of things with the 15-minute cities, which I've seen myself on the ground in Oxford, UK, where they're sensing your footsteps outside on the sidewalk while they have facial recognition cameras everywhere and shutting down the road so you can't drive around and you're basically trapped in a neighborhood. And under the guise of convenience. And tyranny comes under the guise of convenience, as I say so much. But they then in China brought in all these injection policies, and then WeChat, and tracked everything on WeChat and attached that to your social credit. This, as I've said for years, it's so obvious. Social media is social credit. All these like MIT and Princeton and Yale people create these systems that now decide who you are as an individual via machine learning. Of course, that's the new social media or social credit system, which again, China and Mark Zuckerberg, they meet regularly, even though Facebook's banned in China. Mark Zuckerberg regularly has met with the Chinese President Xi Jinping, and they're constantly working with major banking corporations. It's always been about creating that new system, the Internet of Things, to control every aspect of your life via your own social, it's like social aptitude tests. And now we have the Pentagon just openly saying they're working with xAI. I mean, in the same month, they're not even hiding it. In the same month as they're pushing forward this 5-year social media history policy, the same month as they're pushing through these cameras on all the highways with facial recognition. And pushing, oh, whoa, there's Pandemic 2.0. Can't wait for Operation Warp Speed 2.0, which Trump said himself he can't wait for. Again, it's see our recent video. If you're watching on YouTube, go and make sure to find that on Rumble and BitChute. We did a few videos that you cannot see on YouTube. But anyway, so now we have this mandate as well for age verification online. Meanwhile, the UK at the same time, from the left perspective, has mandated a digital ID. Again, over mass migration, which they created in the first place. They ship a bunch of people over. They destroy their country. They just ship a bunch of people over, give people welfare, and then say, oh, look, culture is being destroyed, which it is, and it's horrible. But that's by design. And then they say, hey, the way that we fix this is by everyone getting a freaking digital ID. And if you don't get it, don't worry, it's voluntary, except for you won't be allowed into any kind of life anywhere in this country anymore. You can't have a driver's license. You can't buy food. You can't do anything. I mean, it's insane. Google and Microsoft to demand age verification from Australians. So that's another a more recent one, December 23rd, 2025. So again, they're creating the digital ID wallet big time in Australia right now. They released the CBDC in the European Union, the digital euro, a couple months ago. not a lot of people talked about it. We did. They released the new system in the UK for these digital IDs at the same time as they're rolling out their CBDC. And they're rolling this stuff out in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Mexico even has it. Mexico by January, in the middle of January next month, they're going to be rolling out the biometric digital ID system in Mexico. And they're doing it in the US, not just with these age verification things, but also with the Genius Act and the Real ID, and not to mention Fed now, the intermediary between the Fed and your bank. Again, this is happening as we've seen this pushed across the board. This all comes together this way. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson wants to open city-owned grocery stores, and Zoran Mamdani is pushing for New York City-run grocery stores as well. So this is how you end up with the food ration system, eating poison food rationed to you based on your social credit score attached to your digital ID. And hey, if you rat out your neighbor for doing something against their new system, then maybe you'll get some credits. Maybe you'll be able to eat steak instead of bugs. And you know, they say, oh, well, the bug lobby is collapsing. No one wants to eat bugs. You're right. No one wants to eat bugs. It's going bankrupt. All these companies that Bill Gates is pushing are going bankrupt. But they all know that under mandates, people can't do anything about it. And it'll mean that these companies will greatly succeed, just like the big milk companies and tobacco companies did during World War I. I mean, they were going under, and then boom, World War I happens, and we're rationing this stuff to people. So therefore, it's a huge boom cycle for them, and it hasn't ended. So this is how they do things under emergency orders. And eventually they put you in a situation where they ration you food based on your social credit score. This is quickly happening right now. If I went into every single example of digital IDs, I mean, I've done so many videos on this before. If I went into every single example of all the ways these digital IDs are being actually enforced, I mean, I could go into Professor Suzanne Michie, who was running the COVID propaganda back in 2020 for the UK government, is now running the propaganda for carbon credits on your bank accounts, which your bank account already has. It's just not mandated yet. I could go into the Ojek tribe in Kenya, who has been starved out because they have bad carbon credit scores. I could go into Sierra Leone, where the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has been running digital IDs, where you can't drive, you can't eat, you can't do anything without a digital ID. It's like I could go into all these banks debanking people, the Basel III policies, which 63 central banks signed onto in late 2024, which allows them to do bail-in regimes on your bank so they could just bail in your bank, stealing your money. The FDIC is bankrupt, as they've acknowledged as far back as November 2022, where they say they can't possibly cover the insured deposits at these banks because these banks have a cash deposit ratio of under 1% with derivative exposures in the tens of trillions of dollars. I mean, I could go into so many examples of this. My point is, the public has been shanghaied. They create a problem, get a reaction, come in as a solution. That is what they call the Hegelian dialectic. And that is exactly what we're dealing with right now. They are creating problems. There's mass shortages. There's a 73-year low shortage, a record shortage of cattle head right now. And 73 years ago was 1952. And 1952 was less than 1 billion people on Earth. And now we have around 8 billion, possibly as much as 11. It depends who you trust on those statistics. So that's unbelievably bad. And then they are creating all these policies to get rid of farms all through the UK and the Netherlands and Belgium and France. And now they're doing mass culling in both France and the UK, or France and the US for chickens, in France for cows due to lumpy skin disease. And they are causing mass shortages there as well. And there's mass farmer protests that no media is talking about right now. So shortages of food, war, civil unrest, all manufactured, economic decline and collapse, bank bankruptcies, a housing market bubble that's collapsing right now. You will own nothing and you'll be happy, as they say. Demoralization of the public, cultural clash. I mean, all these things come to the same conclusion. Oh, don't forget about the 70-year-old outdated grid and the fake cyber attacks that they're going to blame on Iran so that they could come in with, cyber policies, furthering that agenda, or going to war with Venezuela over fentanyl that comes from China and shipped through Juarez, Mexico to the United States via the CIA. It just keeps going on and on and on. They're creating all these conflicts so they can come in with, oh, see, you'll have a CBDC because the dollar has failed. So here's this, instead of pulling out the rug, here's this new system. It's much better. It's for your security and for your financial security, which is nonsense because you'll never own your money. Because if your money's in the bank, it's not yours, it's the bank's. If your money's always going through the banks via digital transactions, it's never yours. It's always the bank's, and you are owned via legal tender laws to the state. You're owned by the state. And all the decisions you make with your money, therefore, have to depend on whether the state allows you to or not. If you say, oh, it's unconstitutional, it's okay. They go through FedNow and they go through these different sub corporations to make it seem as though it's private, quote unquote. And, we could say the same thing. Oh, well, food. Well, don't worry. Government run grocery stores. They already have retina scans in some places, palm scans in some places. You have to tap your card and pay to enter some stores in places like New York City now. I mean, they're already well on their way to that. They've already enforced policy through the NDAA for food rations and, of course, a conscription effort. I mean, all these things, they have an answer for it. Again, the Hegelian dialectic, problem, reaction, solution, repeat. And if you don't go along with it, good luck eating, good luck having a home, good luck going along with anything. Don't worry, it's voluntary, except for if you don't do it, you are left out of everyday life. It's just a responsible thing to do. Collective responsibility. Collective responsibility is an oxymoron. The basis of humanity itself is individualism and self-responsibility. Freedom. Those things are synonymous, as I've said so many times before on my show. And again, so therefore, all these things correlating right now. The solution is not so-called collective responsibility. That's slavery. The solution is to go the road less traveled. And it's going to be less convenient, but that's the way it goes. Humanity isn't meant to be easy. If it is easy, you should be asking why and how it's become so easy, and who does it benefit for it to be easy? And does that easiness actually reflect as a virtuous thing going forward for you and for your freedoms? So we as individuals must withdraw from the system of governance that controls us today. And it controls you because you have a cell phone. I have one. I know. I got one right here. Yeah, I know. Terrible having these things on us. Not just that, the radiation of all of it in our pockets all the time. It's a tracking device that you always have on you that records every detail of everything that you ever do. You're watching this probably on a phone or a computer, or listening to it via Bluetooth in your vehicle. And all of these things are convenient, but they're enslaving us. I'm probably the only person in independent media that says, like, obviously I want you guys to watch and I want you guys to listen to what stories we bring to you and what warnings we bring to you. But I'm probably one of the only people that'll be like, yeah, all this stuff that you're listening to me on is bad. and we need to evade it at all costs for the sake of our freedom in the future. And that doesn't benefit me to say at all. But the reality is, this only continues to snowball, and it only continues to become a bigger problem into the future until we are completely surrounded by this in every way, shape, or form. And we have a smart home, smart fridge, smart TV, smartphone. We have smart food. We have a ID detailing what we can or cannot have. And all under the guise of helping other people. They'll always say that, helping your neighbor. Oh, there's shortages. We must help your neighbor. You created the shortages in the first place. And you're hoarding most of the food in giant warehouses, which they found they did during the COVID stuff. They found they did also during the Puerto Rico hurricane years ago. They hide all the food, they hoard it so that they create artificial crises so they can come in and ration it to you. So don't have all your money in the bank. Don't have all your fate lying within the banking system and the groceries, the grocery stores, which can go out of food within one day. So once again, I urge people to check those links below as we are here on Christmas Eve, or maybe you're watching it the day after on Christmas. Merry Christmas to you. It's time to give yourself the best present possible, which is security going forward as an individual, not dependent on the state. firstnationalbullion.com/schedule-consult/. It has to be that exact link, no shortened version. It's in the description of the video. There you can avoid the digital IDs and the CBDCs to a great extent. The bank collapses, the obvious inflation we're facing. Buy physical gold, silver, platinum, or palladium today. Hold it in your hands, put it in a vault, or put it in an IRA outside of the traditional IRA system. Schedule an appointment for a free consultation with Mark Gonzalez and get a complimentary investors package there as well. Just let him know in the comments of the forum that you found him at World Alternative Media or WAM, WAM. This is very important going forward. Avoid being dependent on the groceries that you get at these major stores, who are all, by the way, working with the World Economic Forum, as I've exposed in past videos. You go to heavensharvest.com and use code WAM. This is amazing. 25% off right now. It's the best sale we've ever seen there. 25% off when you use code WAM, WAM. For long-term storable food that's non-GMO, there's organic kits, heirloom seeds, water filtration and storage, and books on how to get started. There's freeze-dried food, of course, as well. Again, this is how you save yourself and your family going forward, so you don't depend on their system later on down the road. So heavensharvest.com, code WAM, WAM, 25% off. There's many ways to help yourself. I urge people to also go and check out Wavewatch 2.2, 1,250 frequencies. As I mentioned earlier, code WAM, WAM will get you over $100 off. No Wi-Fi required, no apps, no Bluetooth, no EMFs. Again, it helps you soothe your nerves, boost your energy, enhance cellular function, and improve sleep. Endorsed by people like Dr. Brian Artis. You can go and check that out at our link in the description. You could also use our link in the description for vni.life/WAM, WAM, where you can get a bunch of money off on super supplements by using code WAM15, WAM15. Amazing stuff over there. Again, Protovite's amazing, 100 plus vitamins, minerals, and phytonutrients. And the before and after is absolutely incredible. Look at the issue before. When we look at it, there's all these circulatory issues. The red blood cells have lost their negative charge. White blood cells are tiny. 5 minutes after taking it, you have a restored negative charge. The red blood cells are freely flowing, and the white blood cells are 4 times their size. That's 5 minutes after taking this. There's nothing else like that. This usually takes like a month to do. It takes you 5 minutes with this. So I urge people to go and check that out below in the description of the video. And we have lots of other options. I hope you guys join us at Anarchapulco 2026 in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, where I live, February 15th to 20th. It's going to be an amazing event. If you use code WAM, WAM, you'll get 10% off on your tickets to Anarchapulco. And a lot of great speakers. I'll be speaking there. Jeff Berwick, Gareth Ike will be speaking there. Curtis Stone, Charlie Robinson, Greg Reese, Max Egan, David Icke is going to be speaking there. Dr. Andrew Kaufman, Chris Horlocker, Christian Yordanov. We have a lot of people. President Vit Jedlicka of Liberland will be speaking there. I mean, it's going to be a great time. Ernest Hancock, our friend Paul Pue. I can't wait to see a bunch of you guys there. Use code WAM, WAM, and you will get 10% off. So go and check that out today. Now, make sure to help support us if you can. We have gogetfunding.com, Patreon, and Subscribestar. Anything helps to keep us alive, my friends. You guys are the heartbeat of independent media, and we cannot thank you all enough for your help over the past while. Again, we are canceled by both mainstream and alternative sides of things because we don't dare promote political parties and the left-right paradigm and all that kind of stuff. They want us to push one side or the other. That's where all the money comes from. I refuse to do that, and I'm happy to go broke and bankrupt because of that. But you guys help keep us alive. And Patreon and Subscribestar, if you pledge $4.99 or more, you'll get exclusive content, including subscriber-only content and, of course, early access. You could also get video responses directly to you from me with any of your questions you might have. We have a PayPal address, ancientwonderstelevision@gmail.com. We have a Bitcoin address that you can scan here on the screen if you please, or check out in the description in text form. We have a Cointree link with a bunch of different cryptocurrencies that you could donate in if you please as well, including privacy coins. So we definitely appreciate that as well. And of course, we have a Teespring store with a bunch of merchandise that helps support us as well. Find us on Telegram, Band.video, BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble, and Brighteon at World Alternative Media. We're on Hive, Steemit, and Vigilante.tv at Josh Sigurdson, and on the Bad Guys, TikTok and Instagram, World Alternative Media, Twitter and Getter at World Alt Media, and all the major podcast platforms except for Spotify, where, of course, we're banned. Hit that like button, share on social media, hit the notification bell, and hit subscribe if you have not yet already. And as always, my friends, live freely, live by example. This is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.